Pharaoh's heart. He said, "In a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor had respect for people. In that city there was a widow who kept coming to him and saying, 'Grant me justice against my accuser.' For a while he refused, but later he said to himself, 'Though I have no fear of God and no respect for anyone, yet because this widow keeps on bothering me, I will grant her justice, so that she may not wear me out by continually coming.' And the Lord said, 'Listen to what the unjust judge says. And I will not, God, grant justice to his chosen ones who cry to him day and night. Will he delay long in helping them? I tell you, he will quickly grant justice to them. And yet, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" And I have often heard the name Orlando Redekopp, but I've never met you or seen you. So it's good to meet you. We welcome you and want to hear what you have to share with us. Thank you.
Good morning. The scripture this morning is from Luke 18. I see there's a notification in case you're not sure where it is. So they tell you what page to turn to. What does that say? I don't know. But at least you could find it. I want to think a little bit about prayer and struggle, but my deeper theme is I got the words from a African American theologian who writes about when your back is up against the wall. When your back is up against the wall, do not lose heart in a cruel world. And that's what this parable is about. Now, I don't want to be a spoil sport, but this story is about violence and evil that goes on and on and on. In the few days since the so-called ceasefire, Israel has killed over 30-some people in the so-called ceasefire. And yet the Palestinians don't stop seeking justice, peace, love, compassion. They are, as Paul the Apostle wrote, afflicted in every way, but crushed. They are perplexed, but not to despair. They are persecuted, but not forsaken. They are struck down, but not destroyed. Today's story is about a woman whose back is against the wall. She does not live in La La Land. Though her back is against the wall, no external force, however great, can crush her spirit. Even though her enemy, the judge, cares little about her, she fears God only. She is a woman who has pure integrity, and as the psalmist says, she walks through the valley of the shadow of death. Well, Jesus tells us parable because he knows what that is about. Jesus knew about the valley of the shadow of death. The Gospel of John tells us when it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went to Jerusalem for the ceremonial cleansing. They kept looking for Jesus. And as they stood in the temple, they said, "What do you think? Isn't he coming to the festival at all?" But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it so that they might arrest him. Jesus has always got his back against the wall as well, and now offers wisdom, guidance, encouragement for those who face the wall. Now we have an intransigent, unruly judge in some city, and you really start with this, some political figure we will talk about. Opinion. He could care less. Even what the polls say, he could not care less. This judge simply does not care about fairness, justice. He thinks empathy is a weakness. Hate is justified. That's what we're up against. And Jesus has scorn for the judge, which implies that this judge may only be listening to cases where he is bribed. And in that city, there's a widow who seeks vindication and justice. For what? We're not sure. But she may be trying to claim inheritance from her deceased husband's estate, or to reclaim inheritance, the amount of money pledged to her in the event of his death. She deserves what is hers. Her entitlement, she's entitled to it. Might we say she deserves health care, Social Security, safe shelter? If she had a legal agreement, her case may end up in court in a trial that other family members could contest. Some of you know fighting over inheritance can do to people, the families. And the widow is to advocate for herself. She's alone. The courts are not on her side. Where's your family? Families then and fought over inheritances. Someone in the crowd came to Jesus and said, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But Jesus said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbitrator over you?" This widow has no son. Her back is against the wall. She is a widow, usually silent, unable to speak. The widow is a parallel example of anybody who is without defenses, who is oppressed, who is exploited. And the Bible has a constitution about how to treat widows. You shall not abuse any orphan. If you do abuse it, you will cry to me. Surely he will cry, kill you with the sword, and you shall become widows, and your children orphans. This is Israel's constitution. For the Lord your God is a great God, awesome, partial, and takes no bribe, who executes justice for the orphan and the widow. In the psalm, the psalmist reminds us the watches over the strangers. God upholds the orphan and the widow. And finally, the prophet says, learn to do good, seek justice, rescue the oppressed, defend the orphan, plead for the widow. I want to repeat that the Bible is filled with the Constitution that says to take care of such people. This is what we might say the Constitution is clear. This is a way you organize a human community, how you create a healthy life. Now, according to ancient rabbinical, which was based on the book of Deuteronomy, which is in the Old Testament, smaller cities were required to have at least 3 judges to form a court. So why is there only one judge in this court story? Who is the judge serving? Now, the judge in this parable has abandoned all pretenses of impartiality. He doesn't care. And I could use some street language to explain how he doesn't care. The widow has only one option. She's a very strong woman. She's tough. She will make the judge's life unbearable by constantly banging on the doors. Now, Mennonites would have a hard time with this, right? How many of you would go banging on the door of the corrupt judges showing up at Mennonite action on Real King's Day and claiming justice? And if we don't know how to do that, does not say that the judge changes his mind because he has been converted to justice and mercy. That's not what happens. Though I have no fear of the judge of God and respect for him, yet because this woman continually bothers me, I will grant her justice. So she won't wear me out. That's the world in which we live. This widow was not the only one in the life of Jesus, in Jesus' time. Jesus goes through the temple and he says, beware of the scribes who like to walk around in long robes and love to be greeted with respect and to have the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at banquets. They devour houses and for the sake of appearing say long prayers. You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like Christian nationalism to me. A lot of widows are God, but they devour widows' houses. You know, Jesus paid a lot of attention to widows. He's at the temple and he saw people putting gifts into the treasury, and he saw a poor widow putting in 2 small copper coins. And he said, I tell you, this has put in more than all of them with their money, because it came out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, has put in all she has to live on. This is a widow whose back up against the wall. And the next verse, the very next verse, makes you wonder, did Jesus give up on the church, the temple? Because there were some speaking about this beautiful temple, adorned with gifts dedicated to God. Jesus says, watch out. The days will come when not one stone will stand on another. He's trying to tell us. I can tell you what Luke is trying to tell me. Maybe Luke is trying to tell you something as well. Back is against the wall. This is not abstract. This is when you feel like you don't know what to do. Right now, our church, First Mennonite Church in Iowa City, we have a number of people from Congo in our church. And there's a family of 4 at home, and in New Jersey, one of the children, where the husband just died. We have a widow in the church. She's a refugee. Her back is up against the wall. She lives in a hostile land. What is she to do? What is Luke trying to tell me? You know, I've made visits with others, going with migrants to the ICE offices, Homeland Security, and for their check-ins. And sometimes they're detained and then eventually deported. In Cedar Rapids, where we go, at the ICE check-in building, we used to stand up right against the sidewalk where they went in. Then ICE put up a tape, a police doing a cross tape, pushing us back a little bit. Then armed and masked ICE agents stationed themselves around the building. Then ICE moved the tape a little bit, like tempting us. And then ICE petitioned Cedar Rapids City Council to raise a 7-foot fence to keep us out further. This is not La La Land. I can't sleep sometimes. I'm not doing enough. What can I do? Justice before a system that neither cares for God nor public opinion, that cares not for truth or fairness. And I begin to feel, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Should I give up? What is the point of going to shut out again, time after time? Why get up in the morning to face that pain? I'm talking about my experience, but I know that in this church, there are people who also are up against the wall. Family illness, that pushes you against the wall, especially with the threat of losing care. Chronic pain, against the water. I'm in great pain. Maybe you have a child who's lost in the streets, and you wonder, what can I do? I hate to say this, but maybe somebody feels bankruptcy. That's your wall up against the wall. What is the point of fighting? Back is against the wall. I'm going to conclude. going to conclude though with the seminary argument. I'm not going to conclude with a Bible verse, not even with a scream. I'm not going to give you some theology. I'm not going to give you something from here. I'm going to ask the widow. I'm going to ask the widow what to do. And the widow will sing a song, something within. Don't worry, I'm going to sing it. But it's a beautiful poem by Lucy Campbell, an African-American composer. Preachers and teachers, they have made the field, fighting on as soldiers on a great battlefield. When I to their pleadings, my poor heart did you say is, there is something within. Something within me that holds the reins, something within me that banishes pain, something within me that I cannot explain. All that I know is something within. And that God, soul feeling bad, heart heavy laden with a bowed down head. God lifted my burden, made me so glad. All that I know is that there is something within. Have you got that something, that burning desire? Have you got that something that never does tire? Oh, if you have it, that heavenly fire, then let the world know that there is something within.